Welcome back to The Light at the End of the Ocean. In the last video, we had a few tense nights spent with our friendly Lighthouse Keeper, and then we spent a really fun night with the bubbly and charming Elle. We're not any closer to unraveling the mysteries of this place, although we have seen a lot more in just one night with Elle than we did through the rest of the game so far. So we're gonna see how this goes. Shivering in the chilly basement, the guest wraps one of her own blankets around herself before ascending to the main hall. Hello, Elle? As she raises her hand to knock on the bedroom door, something catches her eye. There's a note attached to the inside of the front door and an ornate, looping handwriting. Gone fishing, back soon. Alone again, of course. She sighs and looks around. I guess I better try to find something interesting to do. I think I've seen a sewing machine like this. Maybe my mother had one. My grandmother. Necklace with an L on it. Is this because L sounds like L? Or did I just assume she called herself L when it's really L? Interesting. I won't risk touching that again. This L's, she clearly really likes pink. Oh, okay, that's the back out of that. Hey, there they are. What a nice old-fashioned painting. It looks really realistic. Yep, there's the three sisters. Clotho, Lochisis, and Atropos. Spinning the thread, measuring the thread, cutting the thread. It was right here and I missed it. Went right for the plot item. And it was right here, it was obvious. These three women seem to be sewing something. One of them is unspooling the thread, and one seems ready to cut it. Is that Elle in the middle measuring it? Looks a lot like her. It is. Maybe she has another one of these I could borrow. It's a pretty nice coat. Go downstairs. It's one of those fancy globes that has bumps for the mountains and things. Wow, this is a pretty big book collection. Oh, The Sign of the Four. I think I remember enjoying that book a long time ago. As the guest opens the book, a gust of wind with no discernible source blows through the pages and she feels her hands growing hot again. Rose. It takes a moment to recognize the woman reading on the garden bench as the distressed debutante. She has more color in her cheeks, and a contented expression that never came close to gracing her features that night at the balcony. Yet just as in that other moment out of her life, a bachelor soon approaches her, his brooding tendencies more muted, but nevertheless visible in the world-weary way he surveys his surroundings. Good afternoon. Enjoying the party. Debutante looks up from her book, slightly annoyed by the intrusion. I was, yes. So hiding from the rest of the guests and reading a book really is your idea of enjoying a party. In fact, it is, so if you don't mind, I'll get back to it. What are you reading? The bachelor flounces onto the other end of the bench, and the debutante flinches. At this exact moment, nothing, because I've been interrupted. The bachelor opens his mouth to speak, and then closes it again. He knits his brows. I'm sorry, I've been terribly rude, aren't I? His direct admission of fault catches the debutante off guard. Well, perhaps a little. My apologies. To tell you the truth, I was finding the party dreadfully boring. I thought you looked like you had the right idea avoiding it. Talking to you struck me as a much more interesting way to pass the time than going back there. Of course, you have no obligation to speak with me if you are not so inclined. Good day. Bachelor gets to his feet. Oh, wait! You don't have to leave. I was a bit taken aback by the boldness of your approach, but I would be happy to have a conversation partner as well. I've just finished a chapter anyway. Oh, you don't mind then? No, please, sit. Bachelor smiles and retakes his seat on the bench. I'm Edwin Knight. Rose Nardavino. Nardavino? Is that an Italian name? Yes. My grandfather was Italian. My family has been in England since before I was born. It's the Sign of the Four. That's what I'm reading. Ah, that's one of Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes novels, isn't it? Is he still writing those? I remember hearing about the great detective celebrated return from the dead when I was a young lad. My mother quite enjoyed reading the stories in the Strand. Yes. I didn't start reading them until recently, but they're very entertaining. I've heard Doyle might serialize a new novel soon. Well, I hope you enjoy it if he does. I can't say I'm much of a mystery reader, though. What genre do you prefer? I prefer stories that are more stark and realistic, I suppose. Descriptions of the struggles of daily life, without things wrapping up nicely in the end. Well, to each his own, but I prefer to read as an escape from the struggles of daily life. Understandable. The real world does seem a bit too bleak lately. Indeed. One gazes at the flowers in the garden, deep in thought. Alright, here's a question for you. What would your perfect life be like? If there was nothing to hold you back, what would you do? Rose responds to her companion's query with a quizzical expression. I'm sorry, is that an odd question? No, not at all. I mean, it's a much better conversation than I'm used to from the suitors my parents introduced me to. I suppose a beautiful woman like yourself has many suitors. Unfortunately, yes, but they're all dreadfully dull. If you could forget about them then, they would never bother you again, and your parents didn't have any expectations of you. How would you spend your life? I suppose... Rose ponders a moment. Suppose I'd like to be a lighthouse keeper. Ah, there it is. Edwin cocks his head to the side, intrigued. A lighthouse keeper? That sounds like a lonely existence. Perhaps, but I like the peace and quiet, and I like to help others. I wish I could have a useful career of some sort, doing something beneficial. Lighthouse keepers are important. They keep ships from crashing into the rocks. I think that would be perfect for me. A job where I could be helpful, but I would also have a great deal of time alone to read my books and think. Or when you put it that way, it does sound like a nice life. What about you, Edwin? What would you do if you were free of the fetters of society? Edwin leans in conspiratorially. Well, first, I would throw a lot of parties. I wouldn't invite anyone who's at all boring or irritating. No matter what anyone else says about who's important and with whom I'm expected to make connections. It wouldn't matter what race or religion or social class my guests were. As long as they were intelligent, interesting people. We'd all get together to have a few drinks and talk about our opinions on, well, everything. Literature, philosophy, politics. We might disagree, but we'd all be polite about it and stay friends. Oh, very idealistic. I'd like to attend these parties of yours once in a while, when I go on vacation from the lighthouse. You would be certainly welcome to. Rose and Edwin look into each other's eyes, both their minds filled with dreams that, for just one moment in the garden, feel like they could be real. Almost simultaneously, the two new friends remember what is possible in their lives and what is not. I should go. My father absolutely detests me slipping away from social gatherings, so... Ah, yes, you're right. We should both go. Well, Right! Edwin immediately drops back down onto the bench. Wait a few minutes. We wouldn't want anyone seeing us returning to the party together without a chaperone, would we? No, we would not. Rose turns to walk away. Rose, it's Rose Nardovino, isn't it? She stops in her tracks. Yes. I will call on you one day if your father will allow it. You are unlike any woman I've ever met before, Rose. She smiles, the spring breeze gently flowing through her hair. And you are unlike any man I've ever met before, Edwin. Oh. How they met, how they fell for her. I'm home! As her surroundings swim back into focus, the guest hears Elle's voice ringing out from upstairs and heads up to greet her. Elle poses triumphantly in the doorway, a bright pink fishing rod in one hand and 2 fresh fish in the other. Wow, you really went fishing? What, you thought I was lying? It just seems like a surprisingly normal thing to do in this place. Elle shrugs. For me, this place is normal. Come on, let's go cook them on the beach. Elle escorts her guest to a small fire pit in the sand. They make themselves comfortable on makeshift driftwood seats, half buried by years of erosion. As Elle struggles with a packet of matches, the guest looks out over the dock. No boat. Guess I shouldn't be surprised. Huh? Ah, there we go. The archivist grins as the fire begins to spread for the kindling. He tosses 2 fish on the grill. You don't have a boat. Elle turns her gaze in the direction of the guests. Oh, well, it seems like I don't. What do you mean? It comes and goes. I have a boat when I need it, and I don't need it right now. Right. Makes total sense. Well, I suppose Rose wasn't lying about her boat not being reliable. The guest slumps down as much as she can in her unconventional chair. Hey, you doing okay? Yeah, I guess so. Okay as I can be, I mean. I did sleep pretty well last night. Better than the 2 nights before, anyway. So, thanks for that. No problem. Having a sleepover was fun. Yeah. Think I'll head back to the lighthouse tonight? I don't know. If you want me to, I won't keep bothering you here. But being there was frightening sometimes. But it was less frightening, it was just awkward. I know you said that she cares about me, and there are some mysterious reasons she can't explain things to me, but I can't talk to her. She barely says anything. She's so cold and aloof. And you know she locked me in the lighthouse one morning? I mean, she says it was an accident, of course. It's like she says it was an accident that my boat crashed on this island when it's her job to make sure that doesn't happen. That was my fault. What? Elle's sudden declaration startles the guest out of her tirade. It was my fault you crashed. I'm so sorry. I asked her to help me in the archives. I had some heavy boxes full of books and files, and I hurt my shoulder a while ago. So I asked her to help me move them down the stairs. She said yes without even thinking about it. Because honestly, that's the kind of person she is. She cares so much about helping other people, even if it doesn't feel that way to you. It took longer than we thought it would. And you must know by now that sunset comes early here. It's always earlier than you think, especially if you let yourself get distracted. When she realized it was dark out already, she sprinted up the hill to the lighthouse, faster than I've ever seen her move. And this was in the middle of the thunderstorm. I was so worried she'd slip and fall in the mud. She was too late. By the time she made it up to the light, it had already crashed. Guest looks on in confusion as the archivist tells her tale, even while smoke from the fire in between them obscures the archivist's expressions and irritates the guest's sensitive eyes. I was the one who found you first. I carried you up the stairs to the lighthouse. You were so cold. She had come running down from the top of the tower, too, once she had made sure the light was working. In between ragged breaths, she asked me if you were okay. I put you down in the bed and asked her if she wanted me to stay and keep an eye on you. She said it was fine. She said I needed to rest, because my shoulder must be in pain from carrying you. said she could take care of you herself. That's what she did. All night she would check the light upstairs, then check on you downstairs, then do the same thing again. Really sorry. It's my fault you're here. I'm the one you should be angry with, not her. Her story finished, the archivist turns her attention back to the fish on the fire. The guest sits unmoving, in deep contemplation. She breathes in the smoke and the scent of the fish, somehow unlike anything she's ever smelled before. She thinks about the days she spent on this strange island, first with the close-lipped but apparently courageous keeper, then with the affectionate, potentially absent-minded archivist. She looks at the woman on the other side of the campfire, tending to the fish she caught herself with it for the two of them. I'm not angry at you. It's not your fault. Not angry at her either, but don't know if I'm ready to go back just yet. Is that okay? The archivist smiles on the other side of the smoke. Of course. We have things to do after lunch anyways. You wanted to find a book to read, right? I'll help you with that. Okay. But first to thank the fish already. Let's head back and eat inside. Two women leave the beach, the ashes of the fire behind them, and an afternoon of pleasant conversation ahead. A while later, Elle leads the guest down into the basement. Looking more closely at the bookshelves than she did the previous day, the guest notices how chaotic they are, with many books lying on top of others or sticking out haphazardly. So, I swear they were organized alphabetically by author's last name once. Then I kept getting new books, and sometimes there was no space left where they should go alphabetically. So I had to just kind of stick them wherever. You know how it is. And then one time I moved all the shelves out from the wall so I could clean all the years of dust back there, and man, that was gross. And I put them back in the wrong order by mistake. By the time I noticed that one section of the alphabet was in totally the wrong place, I didn't want to move them all again. So, maybe you should just tell me what kind of books you like. I'll see if I remember anything good. You probably don't stand much of a chance of finding what you're looking for by yourself. Well, that would be easier if I could remember what kinds of books I liked. Guess maybe mystery. I have a vague recollection of having read a bunch of Sherlock Holmes when I was a kid, maybe. Mystery it is. Let's see, what do I have? Elle peruses the shelves, a look of intense concentration on her face. What about... No. You know, I'm not all that picky. Probably just grab something decent and I'll give it a try. Not like there's much else to do on this island. No, you said you like mysteries, right? So I'm finding you a mystery. I want you to have a good time here. Aha! He pauses in front of a shelf toward the far corner. Here's the beginning of the alphabet, and here it is. Without warning, she tosses a weathered paperback to the guest, who fumbles but manages to catch it. The Moonstone. Wilkie Collins, 1868. One of the first detective novels that established a lot of the conventions of the genre. And up here is... This time the guest anticipates the flying book and catches it more deftly. Surfacing. Margaret Atwood. It's 1972. So you've got a nice range of time periods there. This one's about a woman searching for a missing father. Ooh, and if you want one more to consider. Elle returns to her search for a few minutes, while the guest skims the backs of the two books she has already. There we go. Careful, this one's a hardcover. Ow! The guest manages to keep up her perfect record of catching the books, but not before this one strikes her in the stomach. The English Patient. Michael Ondate, 1992. Also not really a whodunit or anything, but there's plenty of mystery and intrigue. Any of those should be a good read. But hey, if it turns out you were totally wrong and mystery isn't to your taste after all, just let me know. You might have noticed I have a ton of books. Thanks. Do you know which one you'd like to try first? Oh, okay. I think I'll try the Moonstone. A classic is always a good choice. Elle hands the guest her chosen novel with a big smile. I'm going to start reading now. Feel free to relax on the couch in my room. Or enjoy the nice weather while it's still light out. I have some work to do down here, but I'll come up and talk to you later. Okay, thanks. Feel free to yell if you need anything. The guest nods before ascending the stairs out of the archive, book held firmly in hand. Later, as the first hints of the island's early sunset streak across the sky, a knock at the archive's door startles its two inhabitants out of their reading. Come in, we're in the bedroom. The front door swings open, followed by that of the bedroom. The keeper shuffles in, looking down at her bedraggled boots. Evening. Hi, honey, I'll be right back. Just about to take care of something downstairs. Ooh. Talk amongst yourselves. The keeper chuckles. Must be something very important, and definitely pre-planned. Definitely. Keeper remains standing near the doorway, a wide distance between her and the guest on the couch. What are you reading? The Moonstone. It's an old mystery Elle thought I would like, about a missing diamond. Do you like it? Yeah, it's pretty good. It's nice to have something to do to pass the time in, other than just wandering around, wondering what's going on here. Yeah. Sorry about that. Must be hard for you. Yeah, it is. It really was an accident the other day, when you were locked in. I'm sorry it scared you. Thanks. Keeper moves farther into the room and takes a seat on Elle's bed. Ooh? Did you have fun here? Yeah, Elle's really nice. We had a sleepover in the archives and cooked fresh fish for lunch today. The keeper nods. She is an astonishingly kind and cheerful person. She's very bright and energetic. I don't know how she does it all the time. And she says that her younger sister is even more of a constant optimist. I find that hard to imagine. Oh, that's actually true. Chloe's level of positivity is almost absurd. You've met both her sisters? The keeper nods. Naturally. Known them all a long time. Well, not that long, by their standard of time. What do you mean? How old are they? Not sure exactly. Much older than anyone who lives on Earth. Really? I guess that makes sense. You're not too surprised? Just one more in a line of strange things that have happened to me over the past few days. I think I've gotten used to it. Keeper reacts with a look of sadness and sympathy. Sorry that you have to get used to that. To the way things are here. No one should have to. It's okay. You've apologized a lot already. Keeper shifts slightly, leaning closer to the guest. If you want to come back to the lighthouse tonight, if you're comfortable, there's some good food for dinner. Oh yeah? How good? I did have some pretty delicious fish for lunch today. Well, maybe it won't quite live up to your elevated standards, now that you spent some time with the real chef on the island. But you should come. As the guest looks into the keeper's earnest, apologetic eyes, Elle skips back into the room. Hello, I'm done with the thing I was doing. Did I hear you mentioning going back to the lighthouse for dinner? Sounds like a great idea. I hear there's good food. Don't worry about me, I have things to do. So many things. The guest laughs. Okay, Elle, I'll head out now then. Thanks for letting me stay with you. It was a lot of fun. No problem. Thanks for all your help with the filing. I'll come visit you soon. Bye. Enjoy your dinner, you two. The lighthouse keeper and her reinstated guest slip out at the door of the archives and ascend the hill to the lighthouse as the sun sets in the south behind them. Nighttime in the lighthouse again. Hopefully more comfortable. It feels like we've patched things up a little bit. Dinner turns out to be pancakes with maple syrup. The guest is surprised at the departure from the standard dinner fare, but she can't deny that the keeper's promise was accurate. Pancakes are delicious. Is this what you normally have for dinner? No. Just felt like it would be a nice change. It is nice. Thank you. You're welcome. As part of the recent reconciliation, the guest and the keeper consume most of their meal in silence, interrupted only by the scrape of cutlery against plates. Immediately after swallowing her last bite, the keeper rises from the table. Better check on the oil levels. At the guest's interjection, the keeper turns back. Her cold gaze almost discourages the guest from asking the questions on the tip of her tongue. But then she summons her strength and resolves to give it a try. Those visions I've been seeing here, you know all about those? That's normal here. The keeper nods slowly and warily. I won't ask why I've been seeing them, or how it even works, but I just want to know. Am I right that they're the memories of people on this island? Can you confirm that at least? The keeper takes a deep breath before speaking. Yes. The guest nods, as if in understanding, even though this answer has simply raised more questions than she would rather not consider. She shivers. The keeper remains still and silent on the bottom stair, her eyes fixed on her nervous companion. The guest steels herself to seek just one more answer, the one she finds least frightening. The one on the balcony, and in the garden. Is that you? The balcony? There was a party. She was upset, and a man came out to comfort her. Then in the garden... Oh, Edwin. For a moment, the guest thinks she catches a glimpse of an expression she's never seen before on the keeper's face. Some kind of nostalgia mixed with melancholy and regret. Yes, my name was Rose. Rose. The oil. She rolls around and rushes up the stairs to the light. Grasping the edge of the table, the guest lowers herself back into her seat. Well, learned a little bit at least. She's opened up a little. She's still really closed off, but she closes her eyes and struggles to endure the throbbing pain in her head that began when she stood up to address the keeper, and grew in intensity with each question she asked of her recalcitrant roommate. Rose. The guest dreams of Rose that night, not as she knows her now, but as she saw her in visions in the past. She stands on the south beach of the island in a storm not unlike the one that brought the guest here, her long hair soaked through with rain but still blowing in the wind. It's hard to tell with the rain already running down her face, but she might be crying as she watches a small boat recede into the distance. Descending the stairs in the morning, the guest finds her host looking as different from how she did in the dream as possible. Her short hair is neatly tucked behind her ears, and she smiles peacefully while sipping a cup of tea. Morning. Want some tea? Sure, thanks. After opening several cupboards in search of a mug, the guest pours herself a drink from an unadorned porcelain teapot on the counter. What kind is this? I noticed you have a lot of different flavors. Blueberry ginseng. Elle says ginseng is really good for you. Elle does seem to be a tea expert. An overpowering blueberry smell makes the guest momentarily worry that the tea will be too sweet, but upon her first sip, she discovers a much milder taste than she was expecting. It simply tastes warm and comforting. Across the table, Rose takes another sip of her own tea and sighs contentedly. She looks so much less intimidating than usual that the guest wonders if this might be a good opportunity to ask her another question. Ask her past. I'm Rose. I was wondering if I could ask you a bit more about those visions I saw. Like, what did Edwin mean? No. He slams her mug down on the table. No, I'm sorry, but I can't talk about that. Bored enough to try making conversation with me, there are better options to pass the time. Ooh. Rose takes a deep breath. There might be some board games in the cellar. You could play with Elle if you want. Oh, that sounds nice. And I'll show you how to get down there after you finish your tea. Keeper, her face returning to a placid mask of neutrality, lifts her mug back to her lips. The guest looks on in silence, still unsettled by their exchange. Pain is still raw. You'll get cold, you know. That's one rule that does still apply here. Right. The guest takes another sip of her tea under the keeper's scrutinizing gaze. Later, Rose leads the guest around the back of the lighthouse, where a rusty metal door is embedded in the ground. The guest momentarily wonders how they'll move such a heavy barrier, but Rose deftly hoists it open with a creak. Beneath the hatch, stone steps extend into the darkness. The guest peers down warily. Are you scared? No! I'll go first and light the lantern. She disappears down the stairs, and shortly after, a warm, flickering glow welcomes her guest down. Oh. The room is much cozier than its exterior would suggest, though it lacks anywhere to sit, cluttered as it is with years' worth of unnecessary objects. As her host rummages through a cupboard below the stairs, the guest scans the shelves ahead of her for anything eye-catching. Are these more crates of food? Oh, probably. Things I don't like get delivered, I just put them down here. There's usually enough of other things to eat that I don't need them. Looks like these crates are almost entirely filled with cans of beans. I hate beans. Fair enough. Just out of curiosity. What's this? It's full of papers and file folders. Must be Elle's then. She stored some things down here a while ago when she was cleaning and reorganizing the archive. The Mansion of Happiness. Hey, this looks like a board game. The Mansion of Happiness. It's covered in dust. How long has it been since you played a board game? A very long time. Not even sure if that one is mine. There have been other Lighthouse Keepers. Well, I don't see any other ones down here, so let's give this one a try. The guest examines her surroundings as she emerges from the cellar, a dusty game box in hand. Huh. You alright? Yeah, it's just... That was easier than I thought, I guess. Told you that place wasn't scary. No, that's not it. I thought... She strains to remember what was going through her mind before she descended the stone steps. Hadn't she expected something in particular to happen? What was it? No visions? Never mind. Let's go inside and take a look at the game. Later that day, the three players arranged themselves on the game board on the floor of the lighthouse's guest room, chosen as the optimal spot to play because of the lack of a third chair in the kitchen. The keeper fidgets with a game piece while the guest reads the rules. So, it says each of us need 10 counters. It looks like they're the currency. Oh, must be what these little paper squares in here are for. Elle enthusiastically dumps the bits of paper out of the box onto the floor and begins dividing them equally. Oh, and an extra counter with the initial of his or her name, or any other letter or number, judged most proper for distinction. Good thing I always have a pen on me. She withdraws a thin black pen from her pocket and marks one of the paper squares with a large, flourishing letter L, before passing the pen to Rose. Rose knits her eyebrows for a moment, then draws a deep breath and scrawls a blocky capital R on the paper in front of her. She thrusts the pen towards the guest, who simply stares at it, the rule sheet clutched in both hands. She places the rule sheet down and takes the pen gingerly. I'm not sure what to write. Oh. Right. Well, it does say any other letter or number judged most proper for distinction, doesn't it? So it can be anything. What do you judge the most proper letter or number for her, Rose? She beams as she addresses her friend by name. How about 3? Guess she's the third person to write something down. That's not very creative. There's nothing better then. It's okay, I can just be number 3. The guest brings her pen towards the paper, but Elle grabs her wrist to stop her. No, I'll come up with something good. Oh, I've got it. You could be G. G? Because you're our guest here. That works, right? Sure. Ironically, I was going to suggest that. Same brain cell, Elle. The guest smiles and writes down the letter. I still think 3 would have been fine. Oh, she's G now. So how do we play? The guest scans the rule sheet. You spin something called a totem? Yes. Rose holds up a spinning top with numbers around the edges. Then we just move according to the number we get, I guess. The rules have some more specific things to go with the squares we land on, too. Then we can figure it out as we go along. Why don't you go first, Rose? Sure. Set the totem spinning on the floor. It lands on a 2. She moves the counter with the letter R on it to the corresponding place on the board. It says piety. What do I do with that? The guest consults the rules. Whoever possesses piety, we get to move 6 more spaces, I think? Rose complies. Slides her counter forward to a blank space marked with the number 8. Nice, I'll go next. She spins the totem with vigor. It careens across the floor, forcing her to get up to retrieve it. Wow, strong. I got a 3. Yeah. Oh, there's nothing on the square for 3. Boring. She slides her counter to the blank space with a dramatic sigh, then passes the totem to the guest. This time it stays in one place, but seems to spin for longer than it did for the others. The guest watches, feeling slightly dizzy as it wobbles and slows before eventually landing with number 6 on top. Slides her paper counter, labeled with a letter in lieu of a missing name, along the board. The water. She peers at the rule sheet in search of instructions, the words swimming in her unfocused eyes. Whoever comes to the water, number 6, must pay 1 for being ferried over, and go to number 10. Oh. That's one of those 10 counters we got, I guess. Drops one of the black counters back into the box it came from. I think I've played this game before. As the guest reaches for the piece of paper that represents her once again, her fingers brush against the illustration of a boat on the board. She springs back, willing the warmth spreading through her hand to dissipate and let her enjoy this afternoon, but her vision is already fading. Uh-oh. The distressed debutante and the brooding bachelor lie sprawled on a familiar beach, waves lapping at their feet and raindrops caressing their faces. The debutante's eyelids flutter open first. She struggles to her knees and examines her surroundings before shaking the bachelor's shoulder. Edwin, are you alright? He goes over to face his friend. Rose? Oh, thank heavens. Rose, where are we? Edwin stands and turns in a circle, surveying the rocky shore. Rose gets to her feet as well, brushing the sand off her dress. I don't know. I seem to have forgotten. I feel as if I've forgotten a great deal of things. So do I. A bit troubling, isn't it? He smiles despite his circumstances. Bit. But you know, I feel rather content, really. You're all right, and we're here together on this lovely beach. Don't even mind the rain much. I think I see a lighthouse up that cliff. I'm sure the keeper can help us. We can find our way up there. Oh, a lighthouse! I've always wanted to go to a lighthouse. Yes, I remember that about you, I think. Twin sets off in search of a way up the cliff, and Rose falls into step behind him, a grin on her face. Do you? What else do you remember about me? I remember that you're a lovely, caring person. Is that so? And what else? That you enjoy mystery novels and going for long walks. That you're my... You're what? He stops still upon noticing the stone stairs leading up the cliff. Well, you're my best friend, aren't you? Come along. Looks like we can go up this way. Hello? Anyone in there? We're a bit caught in the rain out there. For lack of an answer, the bachelor heaves the door open and ushers the debutante inside. Hello? Anyone? We don't mean to intrude. Rose squints up the stairs, looking for any signs of inhabitants. It's awfully dark in here, isn't it, Edwin? Yes, come to think of it, I didn't see the light on from the beach either. It seems strange on a dark and rainy day like this. Perhaps it's abandoned. Her voice betrays enthusiasm at the prospect. What will we do then? Tired from the walk up, he sits down and rests his arms in a layer of dust on the small kitchen table. His friend joins him, eyes aglow. Do we have to do anything? We can stay here. Stay here? In an old abandoned lighthouse of uncertain location? Well, why not? It seems safer than setting out on our own when we don't know where we are. Besides, someone needs to keep the lighthouse running for the ships. We can figure out how to do that. I think I read some books on the workings of lighthouses once. I have a general idea of how to do it. So we spontaneously become lighthouse keepers. What about when whoever's supposed to be in charge of this place arrives? Then they help us get back to wherever we came from, I suppose. But we don't need to worry about that now. Let's explore the rest of the lighthouse. She leaps up and tugs at his arm. Well, all right. You somehow have the sense that I wanted to escape from something. I don't feel in much of a hurry to get back home and find out what. I feel the same way. This place seems safe somehow. Safer than what I'm used to. Even though I don't remember what I'm used to. Isn't that strange? Everything is strange at the moment. But I can't say that bothers me at all. Yeah, let's go. Giggling, the debutante drags the bachelor up the stairs as the rain drizzles down outside the lighthouse. It's nice and cozy, isn't it? I told you I could figure it out. Edwin, are you alright? Everyone's not happy.
So maybe meet me tomorrow under the black sky.
Due to the difference of their dreams.
Maybe you
Isn't this island beautiful? Everyone wanted to be a social guy, but surrounded by people who he knows. Okay, I'll see if we can find something to eat. That'll make you feel better.
I don't want you, baby, and you don't want me. So meet me tomorrow.
Didn't want this. Didn't want this isolation. Rose. Rose. The scene shifts to find the debutante at the top of the lighthouse, looking out as the storm whips the sea into a furor. She keeps her eyes fixed on the waves as the bachelor clambers up the ladder. Rose, do you see that boat that's come ashore? It looks like there are 2 men in it. Yes, they're coming up the stairs from the beach now. Voice is dreamy and distant. Well, shall we go down to greet them? Must be the help we've been waiting for. No, I don't like the look of them. What do you mean you don't like the look of them? I don't think we can afford to be picky in our situation stranded here on a... Rose rolls around to face him. Stranded? I thought you liked it here. Liked it? But it's not the worst place one could possibly be marooned, but... I thought we were happy here. Didn't we both agree that we had a sense of having been trying to escape something before? Now that we're here, we're safe. Rose, I... Can't stay here forever, Rose. We must have a home to go back to, even if we don't remember it. This place is strange. Unnatural somehow. Don't tell me you haven't noticed it too. I don't know what you mean. Rose's voice trembles. She turns back to the window. Time doesn't move like it's supposed to. Days seem shorter than they should be. Sunset always comes early. Maybe it's winter. There's also the... He pauses, searching for the right words. The visions. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you do. Sometimes an object will catch my eye, something that I haven't seen before. It doesn't belong where it is when I touch it. Oh shit. Thunderous pounding on the door reverberates throughout the lighthouse. Everyone is startled, but soon recovers his composure and turns back toward the staircase. A look of feigned neutrality on his face. Shall I go let them in, then? No! In one sudden movement, Rose flings herself onto the trapdoor, blocking his exit. Don't go. Just ignore them, they'll... Another, more urgent knock interrupts her. She shouts over it. They'll go away eventually, and then we'll be free. Free to live here, to be happy, together. Edmund shakes his head. Live? Rose, the last of these visions, I saw the 2 of us in my old office together. We were each composing one of 2 separate similar letters to our families. They both started the same way. By the time you read this, I'll be... dead. No, I don't. You're not. It's not real. It's just... I don't think we're free to live anywhere, Rose. Here. He opens his arms for an embrace. When Rose turns away, he circles to their other side and grasps hold of her shoulders. She relents, leaning her head against her friend's chest. Knocking at the door ceases for a moment, and the only sound she can hear is the rain beating against the glass of the lighthouse. I don't remember very much about you, Rose. Grandma used to say you liked to feel my heartbeat. Oh. What is this? The guest's eyes snap open. Finds herself lying on the cold, hard floor of her bedroom, but it's dark now. All traces of the board game are gone. Hello? Elle? Rose? The more her eyes adjust to the darkness, the more everything about the room seems unfamiliar. What are... Oh. I remember these clothes. These are my clothes. That's right. I've been wearing Rose's clothes all along, haven't I? I'm a little worried about touching this again, but what else can I do? Must be something I'm supposed to find here. It's different than... Oh! This is different than before somehow. Remember, it used to be more smudged, so I couldn't see most of the information. Now there's a name. Mayara Murphy. I don't like that name. I don't look any better than I did last time. It's like my wounds aren't healing. Why aren't they healing? I don't like the sound of that. Not one bit. Food crates are here, but they're all empty. Rose's tea canisters are all here. Looks like someone's ripped them up the labels and stuck them back together to spell different words. I think this used to be blueberry, raspberry, ginseng, and sleepy time. Now it says blood. Remember, giants, and suicide. Huh? That sounded like something falling on the table. What is this? Some kind of coin. Is that the door? Guest opens the door. For a moment sees a different cliff outside. Not the one that the lighthouse should be on. One that looks familiar, all the same. The doorknob burns the palm of her hand, and another scene on that cliff materializes. The wistful wanderer and the tender-hearted tourist stand on a trail at the top of a cliff, clutching their jackets against the cold wind. A few other small groups of tourists mill about behind them, on their way up or down the path. Great view, huh? Yeah, it's nice. There's the funny story the bus driver told about the giants. Which version of the ending do you like better? The one where Fionn wins the fight? Or the one where his wife disguises him as a baby? I think the baby one's pretty funny. Yeah, me too. The wanderer stares vacantly out at the horizon. Tourist looks over the wanderer's shoulder, but fails to figure out what's caught her attention. You know, there's actually a pub near where I live called Fionn McCool's. I just thought it was a funny name. I had no idea it came from that legend. Yeah? Yeah, it's a pretty good pub. The wind whips through the two women's hair. The wanderer's gaze never shifts from that fixed point. She sees something the tourist cannot. Alright, well... I'm gonna head down to the bottom and see those columns. You coming? You go ahead. I'll be there in a bit. Okay, I'll see you there then. The tourist takes one more look at the wanderer as she heads down the trail. But she can't think of anything to say. Her eyes still focused in the sky, the wanderer approaches the edge of the cliff. A single raindrop falls into the sea. When the guest opens her eyes again, she's lying in her bed in the lighthouse, like its keeper looking over her. Rose. She struggles against a weakness that seems to have permeated her body, but manages to sit up. What happened? Can you walk? I think so. Then come upstairs. Need to keep an eye on the light. There are some things I think I can explain to you now. The guest shakily gets to her feet. And suddenly they're already there, looking out the lighthouse's vast windows at a brilliant sunset. What? How did we... Things are getting blurred here, even more than usual. Passage of time, the line between dreams and reality, everything. That happens here. More and more as our time runs out. What do you mean? Rose fixes her eyes on her guest. What's your name? Can you tell me that? Guest finds herself nodding. It's Mayara, isn't it? I don't know why I didn't figure that out before. It seems so obvious now. It's another of this place's idiosyncrasies. Figuring things out can be difficult. It's nice to finally meet you properly, Mayara. A hint of a smile grazes the keeper's lips before she turns back to the window. Thank you. Ask me any questions you have. Now that we both have our names, it should be easier for me to explain. Oh boy. What is this place? Why? Why am I here? Well... Rose takes a moment to collect her thoughts. It's a place in between life and death. I'm sure you figured out that part already. It's not the only one, of course. I only work here, so my knowledge of the rest of them is limited. In my understanding, many islands like this one, there are many other waypoints that are entirely different. Depends, more than anything else, on what exactly brings you out of the world of the living and into this one. Mayara knits her eyebrows. Is it suicide? Is that what brings people to islands like these? That and other deaths that are somehow self-destructive, I believe. The light goes out, boats that carry their souls crash, and they end up here. If it doesn't... Rose shrugs. They live on, I suppose. Maybe they recover from their problems and die some other way instead. End up somewhere else. Never known very much. Only one Lighthouse Keeper. What happened to you and Edwin? Where is he now? How did you end up staying here without him? Rose sighs and looks down at her work boots. How much do you already know about when we were alive? And what brought us here? Mayara chooses her words carefully, keeping an eye on Rose's dispirited expression. Well, in the first vision I saw, I think he had just said that he didn't want to marry you. Because he was gay, right? What do you mean? He liked men? Oh, yes. Is that what you call that now? Mayara nods. I had been dishonest with him. He thought that I was like him, but we were both gay. Well, I thought I was too, before I met him. I'd only ever been attracted to women my whole life. But I loved him too. I thought that it would be a good idea for us to get married in order to keep up appearances for the rest of society, while truly having a platonic relationship and enjoying each other's company as friends. And for a long time I let him believe that I wanted that too, but I didn't. He had been less perceptive, could have ended up in a terrible marriage. He constantly holding out hope that he would one day magically want me the way I wanted him, and him under the exact pressure he had hoped our relationship would help him escape. I was a terrible friend to him. That wasn't even the worst of it. You see, there was war. I know. I didn't want to fight. I was so opposed to violence in all forms. So much love for humanity. Rose trails off. Mayara catches a glimpse of the light reflecting off the tears in her eyes, where the sun dips lower and plunges her face into the shadow. Thought that death was the only way to escape, and I let him die. I died with him, instead of helping him face the future. You can't blame yourself for that. If I had been stronger, if I could have saved him, I could have... You weren't weak. You were suffering. I don't blame you. Rose responds with a shrug and a sad smile. Anyway, after we ended up here, without most of our memories at first, like you. When it was time for him to leave, people in charge asked me to stay. They needed a new Lighthouse Keeper. Said I was right for the job somehow, but I don't know if that's true. Maybe I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. In a way, you got to live your dream. Although it's hardly a dream now. What's going to happen to me now? Mayara's voice cracks as she asks the most frightening of her questions. I'm sorry. It's one question I still can't really answer. I've been further than this lighthouse. I know that most souls move on to somewhere else. I truly hope that it's somewhere good, but I can't make any promises. As confused and disoriented as she still feels, Mayara struggles to think of any more questions to ask. There's nothing she can put into words that would abate her gnawing anguish. They're almost here. Rose gestures toward the window, while most of the boats on the water are barely visible in the distance, and poised to curve around the island. One swift, small shape cuts a straight line through the waves as it approaches the beach. Sorry, Mayara. It's my fault you're here. I failed in my duties as Lighthouse Keeper. I let someone die. Again. You didn't let me die. No one did. I died of an illness. That's what depression is. It wasn't anyone's fault. If the flight had been on that night, maybe you would have felt better that day. Maybe you would have gone home and talked to someone who could help, or... What, so the light controls my life and my emotions? You're saying I don't have free will? I don't know. I've never really understood it. I imagine only the people in charge do. If we're going with the no free will hypothesis, maybe neither of us could have done anything. Maybe I was always destined to be here. What a sad fate. The dark vessel outside draws closer. Rose takes a deep breath. She adopts the rigid postures and stoic expression that characterized Mayara's first impressions of her, just one strange, short week ago. You should go out to meet them. Mayara turns away from the window and examines the woman next to her. They'll be in a bad mood if you make them come up here and knock on the door. You'll only be postponing the inevitable. The woman who may have been in some way indirectly responsible for her death. The woman whose standoffish nature exacerbated the fear and confusion she felt when she first arrived. Apologies for the pain and inconvenience this lighthouse has caused you. She retreats back into that stoic personality. Once again, she's the keeper, not Rose. The woman whom she now knows was dealing with her own pain and fear. The woman who made pancakes for her, and albeit briefly sat next to her and enjoyed a board game. A woman whom, under different circumstances, she might have been able to call a friend. Goodbye. They're not friends. They're simply a reluctant host and guest, forced together by unfortunate circumstances outside their control. This opportunity to escape, even if it brings only more uncertainty and confusion, brings an end to their tumultuous acquaintance. With trembling hands, the guest descends the lighthouse ladder for the last time. Oh. Two men stand on the slick, rain-soaked rocks outside the lighthouse. The ferryman leans on a tall wooden stick, the rain pounding against the patches of his skin. His tattered clothing leaves exposed. The messenger beside him, sheltered from the storm by a thick cloak and wide-brimmed hat, fixes the guest with a speculative stare. Will he be coming with us after all? The guest takes a shaky step towards them. Ooh! She flinches at the heavy wooden door slammed shut behind her. Do I have a choice? The messenger observes the closed door a moment before returning his ghastly gaze to the guest. It appears not. Can you pay? The ferryman's voice comes out as a hoarse whisper, barely audible against the unrelenting rain. The guest's hand slides unbidden into her pocket and emerges with a single silver coin. The messenger nods in recognition. Shall we then? The silver coin clutched in the sailor's hand He beckons and descends without a word. The woman stumbles, struggling to stand. Her head in searing pain, her vision blurred. With shaky steps she makes her way toward the sailor standing ready at the prow. She dares not dream of trying not to board. There's nowhere to escape to anyhow. And as they sail with rough and jerking pace, she turns one final time to see the light, but fails to bring to mind the keeper's face before the crawling fog swallows the sight. Oh, it's gone. It's absolutely gone. And there we leave our hapless guest for now. Unless you think it could be changed somehow. This is the end of the light at the end of the ocean. Literally the end of the ocean at this point. From my understanding of that last conversation, felt like I want to say it feels like the lighthouse almost watches over just and it felt fairly obvious from the start that this was some sort of purgatory between life and death. The way Rose described the lighthouse, that there are always souls out there, floating through life to some end. And it's when the light goes out that souls crash on the island. The lighthouse is almost some kind of mechanism to guide them safely through life. And as the way both Elle and Rose described the lighthouse malfunctioning, it just happens sometimes. Like almost that's when people are meant to, when it's their time, so to speak. It's obvious we didn't. You can again see the gallery we've gotten so far. This is when they came for Edwin and Rose and asked Rose to stay. Wow. I suppose this is the normal ending. It looks like we have a true ending to get and an extra ending to get. So it looks like this was the normal ending we got. Just from getting through the game normally. It feels right that we got this first. Even if that means that Mayara has actually died. But our first time here, we're just getting used to what this place is, who these people are. It really did feel like, at least the way my run played out, it felt like we learned a lot more about Rose than we did about Mayara. We knew just enough that Mayara has been suffering from serious depression. Broke up with her ex. Unclear whether it was due to her mounting depression. Broke up with her girlfriend. Unclear if it was due to her mounting depression, or if the depression really sprung out of that. I feel like She's been suffering from depression for a long time. And depression is such an insidious illness that it can sabotage relationships. Again, I don't want to presume with stuff like this, but I feel like that's kind of what happened in Mayara's case. It sabotaged her relationship with her girlfriend, led to them breaking up, led to her spiraling downward even further, led to her being hospitalized at some point, led to the annoyance of her family, frustration. Family, they want to care, but some of them can't be asked, some of them don't know how, some of them inadvertently trip over their own feet trying to and just make things worse. It is hard. It is hard to know what to ask and what to say, but at the very least you can listen. And that feels like the stumbling block when dealing with family and this kind of thing. As far as we know from Mayara's timeline, we know she went to stay with her aunt in the city, which is bustling and frustrating. She made a like-minded friend on this bus trip, and all we saw of her was her staring wistfully off the cliff after hearing the story of the giants on the pillars. You can tell she was distracted. You can tell she was thinking about just disappearing into the ocean, I imagine. The implications there. Just how listless she felt in that last conversation, that last flashback of hers we saw. Damn. So we're gonna end this off here. When we return, we're gonna try and get the rest of the endings. See any other secrets or the like that we can find in this game. Any other visions, any other bits of dialogue, any other bits of art, and get our other endings. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, until then.